And we're recording. All right, welcome back to another episode of Tech Brothers, episode 2.
Yeah.
We got a really big show planned for you guys this week. We unfortunately we didn't get to do an episode last week, so we're just gonna try to cram everything we missed in one episode. Plus, Ben's been
Yeah.
working on something special, a new Hackintosh. Ben,
Yes.
you want to show us that Hackintosh and run through what you did?
All right. Well, let me turn the webcam around here. Okay. So here's the new machine right here, and this took about a lot of weeks of planning because I just got finished putting the new CPU in. Originally, it had a i3 6100, which was a dual core, really crappy, really slow, and I just put in a i5 7400 quad core, which is a heck of a lot faster, boots really amazingly. However, I don't have the proper patches or anything like that for it yet, so there's not really a running Mac OS on it right now. But I will probably end up making a video guide on how to get Mac working on this later for my channel. But I did post test it. It works. There's no problems with the upgrade, nothing like that. I did actually have Mac on this on the i3 build, but the way a Hackintosh works is if you do any upgrade at all, you have to basically do a clean install, as I'm sure Chris would understand. So unfortunately, we are going to have to go through another install on this because of that one change. So yeah, but other than that, it works fine. And the processor alone was $200 with the shipping and all that. So, but yeah, it works fine, no complaints. And I would show you guys the install process of OS 10 on this, but that would take way too long. So, other than that, that's my new Hackintosh. So,
How much RAM do you have in that system?
I have 8 gigs of Corsair Vengeance DDR4 RAM, a H170M DS3H gigabyte motherboard, um, which is perfectly compatible. Like I said, an i5 7400 quad core CPU at 3 gigahertz, and it has a only an SSD, no data drive, because the data I'm going to be pulling is from this computer over here at some point. And other than that, I've got 2 monitors that are even going to be going on it, and yeah, so the image that I'm going to be using is a pre-patched image of macOS Mojave by Alarila. Kudos to them for such a kick-ass macOS installer image. And I'll probably leave that down in the description for those that want to get this, like I did. Oh, and another thing that I will be bringing up later is I have a website now that we'll be talking about later. But this is this case is a Roswell case that is a micro ATX mini tower, and it's not the easiest thing to build in because me and my buddy Jamie, when we built this, and thank you to Jamie for all his help, he was a great help, and it was really a pain in the neck to get in, and mostly because the power supply was on the top, whereas it's typically on the bottom.
Yeah, the top power supply mounts. I wish they would have died out a long time ago. I don't.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm getting a virus
Yeah.
notification in the middle of the show. That's always good.
Oh shit.
Fuck it.
Right.
Anyway, keep going.
But yeah, but the convenient thing is it's lightweight, not that hard to carry around, especially if you're like me and have huge ass arms. But yeah, and I'm using a USB keyboard and mouse via this hookup down here. I know it's kind of hard to see, and then I'm using a GT 240 NVIDIA card down here, and it does have onboard Intel graphics, but for doing Mac specific tasks, that's going to be kind of a pain in the neck. But other than that, it works great, and there's nothing wrong with it. So the main part that's going to be the tricky part is getting the Mac OS portion done. But other than that, it's going to be a kick-ass system when I'm done with it. So yeah, that's our Hackintosh segment. And
that's awesome. You're actually the first person I've spoken to that actually built a Hackintosh. I've always wanted to build one myself because I have no interest in buying a Mac. But building a Hackintosh sounds pretty fun. Sounds like something I'd be interested in doing.
It is. And you can do it on a laptop, but that's more work than it's worth.
Right.
Now, I would say for those that are just starting out that want to do this, go Intel. I've done it on AMD, this is a Ryzen behind me, and it can be done. There are Ryzen specific distros out there that can make it work, but it's a heck of a lot more tedious getting that to work than it is the actual genuine Intel system.
Well, considering that Mac OS was built specifically for Intel, that's all they use is Intel. I would assume that all the drivers available are for Intel. It's not like Windows or Linux, which has to be built using so much different hardware. They're specifically...
Right, exactly. That's a valid point, Chris, because you got to think about it. At the end of the day, if you build with Intel, it's 99% of the time going to work.
Yeah.
And also, a really good place to go to for learning about Hackintosh is 1, Tony Mac, 2, Insanely Mac, and honestly, Tony Mac has probably the best how-to guides and things like that, so I'll be sure to give those 2 links to Chris at the end of the show.
Yes, we'll have those links in the description.
Yes. All right, so moving on to our next topic of choice here.
Yeah, our next topic today, we got a cool show for you guys today. Windows 10 and subscription fees. Yeah, boy. Earlier, this is a big deal, people. I always knew this day would come, but I didn't want to believe it. Okay, so...
But it's true, people. It's true.
Earlier... What was it, Ben? Last week they announced Windows 7?
Yeah, last week or 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, Windows 7.
So, folks, it's not just Windows 10, but it's Windows 7 also.
Yes, it's going to start Windows 7 Business Edition. So if you are still running Windows 7 as of 2019, support for Windows 7 will stop in 2019. Unless you're paying a subscription fee.
Yes.
So to continue to maintain Windows 7, you have to pay a subscription fee. And be a business edition. Home edition, they're not even offering that. If you have Home Edition, which probably came with your computers, you got to upgrade. You either got to upgrade or choose a different operating system.
Like Mac or Linux.
And we're gonna finish our show off with our choice of operating systems. Anyway, this article we found today on ForbesMagazine.com. Apparently, Windows 10...
Which is the last place you would expect it to be.
That is the weirdest thing, Ben, is when we were pulling articles for this show, we didn't have to go to tech websites. Tech news is so big the past 2 weeks that websites that aren't tech websites were covering tech news.
That's how big the tech industry has gotten at this point.
Well, not only that, it's just there's been so many big stories this 2 weeks. We missed a big week when we missed last week.
Yes, I guess we did, but go ahead.
So anyway, now looks like Windows 10 will also have a subscription fee. There's been no date. We can't find anything about any date of when this might take place. But it's
not going to happen anytime soon.
No, probably. My guess it would be sometime after the Windows 7 Business Edition gets the subscription fee.
Yeah. So you guys don't have anything to worry about for the time being, but I wouldn't stay on Windows 7 much longer, in my opinion. Because here's the thing, it's bound to happen within the next few months towards the end of 2018. So I would get on that Windows 10 upgrade if I was you, as much as it sucks. You know?
here's what we discussed this earlier, Ben. Microsoft recently bought out Canonical. They've recently purchased Canonical, and they're using language that sounds open source, such as we want Windows to be a service, not a product. That is totally from the open source playbook. But I highly doubt Microsoft will ever go open source. So it seems to me like Microsoft wants to have its cake and eat it too.
But they're not doing it in the right way.
No,
they're doing it in a way. They're doing it in a way that isn't open. They want to go open source, but they're not thinking about it in the right manner. They're doing it in the wrong, completely wrong way. I mean, heck, if they want to go open, they should give us the Windows source code, make it a free OS, and then charge for the support if they want to do so. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but what they're doing wrong is the fact that they want to charge for the operating system and not the support, which is completely in reverse of the open source definition that Richard Stallman wrote.
There's no open source. There's no source code available.
Yeah, and they're going to lose in the monopoly if they're going down that path, because quite frankly, if they do that, all kinds of hell's going to break loose, and they're just not going to gain any traction from it. Because honestly, they need to rethink their strategy, but knowing Microsoft, they're not going to do that.
I think this story is going to get bigger as time goes on. Like you said,
Microsoft
and I agree with you 100%.
Notice.
I agree with you 100%. This is not gonna help them in the long run. So we'll have to.
One thing that I think it's going to do is it's going to drive their ass out of business. But you never know. I mean, as long as Windows remains a dominant gaming platform and use platform, I don't know. I mean, we'll just, like you said, we'll just have to wait and see and keep an eye on it.
Yes, as I said, they did buy out Canonical, so that I
just see this.
For the future of Ubuntu as well.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't turn Ubuntu into a subscription OS, but if they do, that's going to be a hurt for Linux.
Here's the way we got to look at that. If they do, they cannot change the GPL from the point of the last update of Ubuntu that was marked GPL. So if, let's say they were to take Ubuntu and all of a sudden they don't want it to be GPL anymore, we have the same issue we have with ZFS, where OpenZFS started from the point before it was bought out by Sun System. Was Sun System bought ZFS out? I think so. We'll go with that.
Yeah, probably.
If I'm wrong, people tell me in the comments that you're an idiot, Chris. You don't know what you're talking about. But there's a fork of ZFS. There's traditional ZFS and there's OpenZFS. So if Microsoft tries to pull the well, Ubuntu's no longer GPL, we're going to put a proprietary license on that and make it subscription-based as well. Well, it doesn't matter because we'll always have the last source code we had before.
Before that, yeah.
But the negative thing about this is, and I hate to actually say this, because I've never said this before, but if that happens, it's going to make Richard Stallman look like a fucking genius and look like GPL 3 was the better choice over GPL 2.
Oh, man. That's something I never thought I'd hear you say.
Linus Torvalds chose GPL version 2. It's all, the Linux kernel has always been GPL 2. With that definition, if Microsoft chose to turn Ubuntu into a proprietary operating system, we could still have the Ubuntu before then, but now there's going to be a closed Ubuntu and an open Ubuntu.
That would make no sense at all.
Yeah, and if Richard Stallman's idea, Linus Torvalds would have went with GPL v3. My understanding of it is Microsoft wouldn't be able to close Ubuntu. Period.
No.
They wouldn't be able to close it because they wouldn't be able to take the Linux kernel to the close.
Because the kernel's a free program. You can't just close source a free program like that.
Yeah, exactly. But now they can now because it's GPL2, which as long as the open version's not messed with, they can take that kernel and put it in proprietary software.
Right. If they so wanted to.
Yeah.
But then there would be a huge uproar if they did that.
There's going to be a huge uproar if that happens. This is all speculation. Microsoft has not changed Ubuntu whatsoever. But with the change...
But since they bought it out, they have the right to do that.
Yeah. And none of this would shock me at all, Microsoft. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So, you see what they're doing with...
Microsoft is a bunch of nutballs.
You're seeing what they're doing with their own... with Windows.
Yes. Now that they own...
I would not be surprised if they do the same thing with Ubuntu that they do with Windows and treat it as their Linux version.
I wouldn't be shocked if they start charging for XP because there's still a boatload of users that are still using that even.
Yeah, I forgot. Bank machines still use Windows XP.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if those bank computers actually have to start paying to use that now.
Well, I do know that I ran into a story a long time ago. I wish we would have known we would have covered it. I would have found it. There's a lot of companies that are making these bank machines that are switching over to Linux.
Really?
So you're starting to see them ship with Debian Linux.
Yeah, at least that OS isn't butted up by Microsoft, but
yeah,
it could very well be.
Which is about time because they've been running XP for ever.
Too long.
Yes. So on to our next story. Now this next story is a developing story. And it concerns PlayStation 4 users.
Which is one of the best, and let me just say, PS4 is one of the most common and well-known, and probably one of the better consoles of its time.
Yeah. The PS4, I own one, Ben owns one. This story is developing. It's been developing for over a year, and nobody's talked about it. So I thought it was time that, somebody actually talks about this. So if you got your PlayStation year one, the first year the PlayStation 4 came out, you have the glossy top. This story probably does not, from our research, does not apply to you.
Does not apply to you. And mine, as far as I know, has the glossy top, not the
plastic.
Not the plastic, no.
Yes, so if you got the second year edition, which Sony wanted to make a little bit more money on, so they skimped out on a few things. One of the things they skimped out on is a motherboard manufacturer. They went with a cheaper motherboard manufacturer. I can't confirm it.
Into a lot of problems.
I can't confirm it because Sony's keeping it under wraps, and this is the first time I've never been able to find a motherboard manufacturer for a motherboard in a product when it was the second revision. I know who made the motherboard for the first revision, but the second revision, we're having issues finding out who made that. But all sources point to the same company, and I'm not going to name a company right now, but I know for sure the same company who made the motherboards in the Xbox 360 Arcade Edition.
Oh boy.
Which, Ben, you know what happened with the Arcade Edition of the Xbox 360.
AKA Red Ring of Death Prone.
Exactly. So, now we have the second edition of the PS4s, and more people posting on the forums about the same exact issue. And I actually know people in person, I've seen this problem, who have a PS4 that will not boot from the hard drive.
That's bad.
One person I spoke to actually took their PlayStation 4. By the way, it was under warranty. Sony will not actually cover the warranty. So this is gonna get public when they
I
start
can
reducing
imagine.
the cover warranties. They took their PlayStation into a well-known, well-respected game store, not GameStop. I said well-respected. A well-known, well-respected game store that fixes these things, and they couldn't fix it.
Wow, so it's basically a defective unit.
It's basically a defective unit. After 1 year, what's happening, and this is why I say it's very similar to the Red Ring of Death on Xbox 360, the motherboards are flexing upwards, cutting the solder between SATA 3 and the hard drive.
Wow, so it's basically tearing itself apart.
It's flexing up. The APU stays intact, but the solder between SATA 3 and the APU, the Jaguar APU that's in the PS4, is breaking. So the CPU the APU can no longer read.
Yeah.
They can't read the hard drive. So you're getting a boot, but it's booting and saying there's no operating system. You have to re-update your operating system. No matter what you do, you put an operating system on the USB, you try to boot that, it won't boot because there's no hard drive. It's not reading the hard drive because there's no connection to SATA 3.
Right. So the SATA 3 connector is basically getting busted.
Exactly. And the store that tried to repair this person's PS4 that I talked to, the motherboard was flexed upwards, which that comes from heat. They're getting hot. These PlayStations are getting hot. They're burning up inside. They're flexing upwards. And even with a new hard drive, it would not read the hard drive. So this is a problem that only Sony can fix. Sony would have to recall these.
Yeah.
And instead they're sweeping it under the rug.
Wow. So Sony knows it's a problem, but they just don't care.
They just don't care because nobody's called them out on it yet. This is the first I've heard about it. But if you go to Sony's own website, these forums are popping up and then they're getting taken down. They're popping up, then they're getting taken down. People with the same exact problem.
All over the place.
All over the place. You can find them on Reddit, on PlayStation's own website. You can find them all over the place. Like I said, I know 4 people in person who've had the same exact problem, and it's always the second rendition, the second revision of the PlayStation 4.
Wow. I'm sure, I hope that, all I can say is I hope somebody fixes it at some point, because this is not going to be stood for. I mean, if somebody doesn't do something about it soon, this is not going to end well.
People should not pay $400 for a video
game
console that breaks after a year. 1 year.
After a year. Yeah, I've had my PS4 for like, what? 2-3 years.
I've had it since the first year it came out.
Yeah, same with me. And mine hasn't broken at all. So I don't know what it is that Sony has done, but they've taken a great console and screwed it up.
Yes. They screwed it up in the second revision and are sweeping it under the rug. Until major media outlets cover this, we're a small podcast. We're only on our second episode. Nobody's going to watch this. You know, we'll get like 12 people who will watch this and say, oh, that ain't right.
No.
So, unless a major media outlet covers this story and does more research on this, they're not going to fix it. Like I said, one of the people I spoke to had a warranty. And they were told, well, you have to have the receipt. No, you don't. I've covered warranty. When Microsoft had the Red Ring of Death, did you get the Red Ring of Death? I know I did. I didn't need a receipt.
Yes, I did. I didn't need a receipt because I bought mine off of eBay, and I didn't know it had the Red Ring of Death.
Well, I had the Red Ring of Death.
Yeah.
And I didn't need a receipt. I called them, gave them the model number. They took it back, and they fixed it. Didn't charge me a dime.
Yeah, and I sent mine in. I got another one, same problem. So eventually I had to buy another one that had no Red Ring of Death, and it was the black model.
Yeah, they fixed it on that revision.
Right, that's the one that I've got now. and it's working fine. And I've had it for a couple of years, no problems whatsoever.
When you buy these warranties, they have a record of the warranty. They don't need a receipt.
Right. That's typical GameStop for you. They don't honor warranties.
It wasn't GameStop. It was actually Sony themselves who will not honor the warranty.
That's sad, man.
Sony themselves need to fix it. It needs to be shipped back to Sony and fixed.
And the problem is they're not going to do it.
They're not doing it.
No.
They will deny that there's a problem with these units.
And ship it right back to them.
Exactly.
That's sad.
So I think that's all for this story until we get more information. This is something me and Ben's going to keep an eye out. We're gonna
of course.
We got to keep an eye out on this particular story because I have a feeling that
Sony.
I have a feeling it's going to get big. I mean, if they cannot fix this issue, if they don't honor their warranty,
people are going to go take this public.
Yeah. And they're going to lose the big market share that they gained, and they gained a lot on Microsoft. They're going to lose that big market share they gained on Microsoft.
Yeah. Either that or people are just going to say, screw Sony and go buy Xboxes at the last resort.
Or PC gaming.
One of the two, yeah. Either that or they'll last us forever go Nintendo, which I doubt is going to happen, but it's I don't know. We'll just have to find
Microsoft
out.
has its issues too, as we can see by this episode. Half our stories are Microsoft-based stories. Mm-hmm. And here we have one story that makes Microsoft look good by comparison.
Yeah.
Which is
I
sad.
mean, I will tell you, as much as I don't like the Xbox One interface, it's a hell of a lot less buggy than it is on PlayStation.
Yes, the lag on the PS4 is ridiculous.
That's why I bought an Xbox, because it works 99% of the time. And I'm just using a basic Xbox One, not a 1S or 1X, whatever, just the normal Xbox One, and I've had a heck of a lot less bugs and issues on that than I've had with my first-gen PS4.
So, Sony, you done fucked up, and you're losing customers very quickly. On to our next story. Back to shitting on Microsoft. Let's get back to shitting on Microsoft.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to shit on them about. So, Microsoft test warning: Windows 10 users not to install Chrome or Firefox.
Okay.
Have you experienced this little warning yet?
No, but
I had to experience this morning. I tested it out myself, and it's true.
I've seen it. I've heard about it. It's not good. I mean, no offense to anybody using Windows or Linux or whatever, but honestly, if you do updates, which I've currently done, and I just did a clean install of Windows 10 last night on my laptop. And this is not a Dell copy. This is just a clean Windows 10, which I honestly prefer, mind you. But nonetheless, if you install a clean Windows 10, you're probably going to experience this as well. Just a thought. But if you experience this, just ignore it. I would still install Windows 10. I would still install Firefox or Chrome, because, quite frankly, Microsoft Edge is a piece of crap.
Well, I had the update last night. I did my update after I heard this story. I needed to install Firefox anyway, because I just got this computer. I have yet to install Firefox, and I prefer Firefox, Yeah, I understand. I installed Firefox, and that message popped up.
Yeah, they basically are encouraging you to use Windows, or forcing you, I should say, to use Edge. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to stick with a crappy browser like that. If I'm going to use a browser, I'll use Chrome or Firefox. It's my choice. It's my freaking computer.
I used Edge one time. That was the first minute I opened up my computer. I turned it on. I popped up Edge. I went to google.com/Chrome and installed Chrome. I have not opened Edge since.
It's that bad, people.
Yeah, it is that bad of a browser. Microsoft, Explorer was crap. Edge is crap. You can't do browsers. Get over it.
Yeah, they just need to leave it without a browser, for crying out loud.
Or just
leave it with Explorer and call it a day.
Or have Firefox packed in like Linux does.
Yeah, because at least it's tolerable.
Yeah, Firefox is damn good. Firefox is getting better and better.
Firefox
is a
decent browser. Chrome is good, but look, at least include Firefox. I mean, just partner with Mozilla if you have to, and have something like that in there. I mean, why you try shipping your own browser? It's a failed effort. I'm sorry, it just is.
It could be another
I mean, heck, don't try and compete with Chrome and Firefox. Just include one of those and call it a day.
What distribution had Iceweasel or Snow Leopard?
Debian.
Debian, for the longest time, had their own version of Firefox just because they couldn't get along with the Mozilla people.
Yeah,
and it was just now renamed Firefox.
Yeah, it's an open source version of Firefox is all it is.
Yes. You can do that with Microsoft. You can do that. Call it Windows Fox or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Either that or MS Fox, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just include your own version of Firefox and call it a day.
You don't have to keep shoving garbage browsers down everyone's throat. You obviously don't know what you're doing with browsers.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Even Apple Safari, I would rather run over freaking Edge any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah. And I am.
I'm not endorsing Apple by any means of the word, but I'm just saying I'd rather run their ungodly browser over freaking Edge or Internet Explorer.
So, I haven't used Internet Explorer on a regular basis since when I worked for iCore, DirecTV and AT&T, you had to use Edge.
Yeah.
It was required to use Edge.
And it's not that great.
And it was a horrible experience at work. But other than that, last time I actually picked to use Internet Explorer was, 97?
Yeah. And it hasn't gotten better since.
And
the last time I used it was when I didn't know computers that well back in the late 2000s. And now that I've gotten a heck of a lot better at it, I'm sorry, but there's just zero excuse to use the stock Windows browser. There's just not.
Even in my elementary school.
Yeah.
In 1997, they switched our computers all on Netscape. And you weren't allowed to open Internet Explorer. If the teacher or the principal called you open up Internet Explorer, you were in trouble. They recognized back at a time when Windows 98 was fresh and brand new, they recognized that Internet Explorer was a garbage operating system.
Or browser, yeah.
Yeah, browser.
You're fine.
So
yeah, I tell you, they really need to get a freaking better browser on Windows. They just do. If they expect Windows to be a good thing to even consider paying for, they need to get a better browser in their freaking OS. They just do.
So on to our next topic, which is what we're going to close the show out to. We've been bragging on Microsoft hard
today.
And we've just shown you a Hackintosh. Yeah. So I figure we'll end our segment with how to pick an operating system. Too many people buy a computer, and the copy of Windows that's on your computer is what you go.
Yeah. There needs to, and like we said at the beginning of our show, we know that, a lot of people are going to be getting Windows very soon on a new computer or an old one, and it's going to come with Windows 10, more than likely, unless you're buying an old junky computer that comes with Windows 7 or something below.
Or 8 or 8.1.
Right, which I would...
God help you.
God help you if you get that. But I tried to live in Windows 8 or 8.1, was not a pleasant experience. but nonetheless, Windows 10 is slightly better, but not by much. I mean, Windows 7 was a great OS for its time, and still is, quite frankly. But honestly, I'm going to say Linux is probably the way to go. And something like Ubuntu Mate is not that hard. It's not.
We're actually going to both be running Ubuntu Mate, and the next episode you watch, hopefully we're both running Ubuntu Mate.
Right. I plan to be, and quite frankly, I'll show you something really briefly here. This laptop over here is running Windows 10 right now. I'm planning on sacking that and getting my Xbox wireless dongle working, my games, everything, all on Ubuntu Mate. And I'm actually going to theme it out, customize it, maybe even throw out a distro of my Ubuntu Mate. So hopefully by next week, I'll have a kick-ass looking Ubuntu Mate with Chris all set up.
Just for like some background information for people, you do not need to keep running Windows. I have dual booted for past year. Before that, when Ben met me, I didn't have a Windows operating system.
No.
I had a ton of hardware. I wasn't on crappy hardware. I was on modern hardware. i7 920, later on the 8350 from AMD. I never had crappy hardware. I would build my own computers, and I would install Fedora. I've been using Fedora since 2006.
Yeah.
Since my senior year in high school, I've been using Fedora.
Yeah. And he taught me how to use Slackware.
Slackware as well. I've used Linux ever since I was a kid. So, and this is the best time to use Linux. Linux has come a long way in that time.
Also, it's not the greatest time to use Mac, but it's a solid alternative.
Yeah. So, if all these stories that were dishing on Microsoft makes you think, oh crap, I gotta get, you can move. The only reason I dual boot, the only reason I still have a Windows installation on my laptop is for games. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, other than gaming, it's really not a viable alternative. It's not.
I had some issues recently with Fedora and Wayland on this laptop. That's why I did the first 2 episodes on Windows 10. So I'm switching to Ubuntu.
Right.
I'm not known for distro jumping either. Ben will testify that. I usually stick to it.
Well, that's where he and I alternate. But at this point...
You're our distro jumper. You're our tester.
Right. And I'm probably going to start doing that in a VirtualBox because for these shows and for daily usage, I got to have something.
Yeah.
And for this HP, right now that's Arch Linux, but it's proving kind of flaky. So I'm probably going to throw either Slackware or Ubuntu Mate on it and call it a day. Yeah. And Chris, will you help me set that up on that HP afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my HP is going to be Slackware. My Dell's going to be Ubuntu Mate. My tower's probably going to be Windows because I just got through setting that up. But other than my tower, everything else is going to be just Linux. That's all it's going to be. So, yeah.
So we have to draw a line in the sand at some point.
Yeah.
If they're
I mean, my tower, because it's an AMD quad core, the main drive is going to be Windows because it's a gaming tower, but the other drive is going to be Ubuntu Mate, and that's it. So yeah, like I said, the Dell's going to be Ubuntu, the HP is going to be Slack, and then my Core i5 tower that I just showed you guys is going to be Mac, and that'll be that. So yeah.
So we had to draw a line in the sand somewhere, and these two tech nerds have drawn a line in the sand, and if it comes down to them charging me a subscription fee for Microsoft Windows 10, I will not pay it.
I'm not going to pay it either.
I went 15 years without a Windows. I missed pretty much most of Windows 7, all of 8 and 8.1.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I'm not ashamed because, I used Gentoo for many years, and, I'm quite happy with my decision to jump Ubuntu from that time. But now they've got the Mate looking desktop. I'm quite happy to go back to it, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Mate is a solid desktop.
Right.
The software boutique is sweet. I wish. I mean, I know you can get that on regular Ubuntu as well, but
it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, there's just something about installing Ubuntu Mate, going up there and
that
seeing
makes
that
it
software
better.
boutique, and just
That makes
installing
it
Chrome.
nice.
It is actually better than anything Windows has ever done. Having that,
right?
I think that's what Windows tried to do with their software center.
Right, and actually, guys, to make it super dang easy for newbie users, Chris and I might come up with our own TekBros version of Ubuntu Mate. If
We're
that's
gonna
something
do it. We're gonna do it.
Yes.
Absolutely. The announcement's right here. We're gonna do it. TekBros version of Ubuntu Mate.
You got it, buddy. All right.
We're doing it.
Well, all right. Well, hopefully you'll see that on a future podcast, and we will see you guys next week, I guess.
See you next week, everybody.
Have a good night.